Well, hey there and welcome. We have another great session for you here today. Let me just share my screen. Hang on 1 second. Oh, there we go. Well, welcome. You know what? Controlling our branding in our career involves a number of marketing tools. Primary marketing tool for your career is your resume. That is the place where tends to be the first time they begin to notice you. Not always, not always. Sometimes it is LinkedIn, which we're going to talk about today. But oftentimes it's the resume. So we have to make sure the resume sets our brand in the right way. Then we have to carry that over to LinkedIn and really expand the way we tell that story. This is building your professional network with LinkedIn and how to use it for your job search. We're going to teach you how to really build a three-dimensional sales brochure, all for you, all about you, right on your LinkedIn profile. The goal is to drive them to one singular conclusion. They're looking at your background. My gosh, if I add this person to the team, if I add this person to the challenge, best business decision I'll make today. So let's move ahead and jump forward. We are this product. I talk a lot about this, but it's an uncomfortable part of job search and career, thinking of ourselves as a product that has to be presented and marketed and positioned a certain way. But if we don't take advantage of the things that we can do, other people will take your potential future opportunities from you, and can't let that happen. So we're going to have to think about how we want them to feel about our product, what their perception should be. And yet we have to not lose sight of the basic reasons we get hired. Now, two basic reasons we get hired, the two main reasons we get hired. This is assuming we are capable and qualified. Assuming we're capable and qualified. The reason I hire you is, why are you interesting? That's the chemistry. Chemistry above all other things, right there. Chemistry above all other things. Next comes in line confidence. Confidence in you above all other things in chemistry. And that's before the actual credentialing, your background, who you've worked for, what was the work product. So if you're capable and qualified for this role, it's down to why are you interesting? What makes you tick? Do we have the right chemistry? And do I have confidence in you? So we're going to have to change how we tell our story. And we're going to have to be maybe a little bit more inclusive in our story than we've been in the past, to showcase certain other aspects of our life. This is part of taking control of the discussion about everything that you bring to the table. This is true influence in your job search. Now, for a little extra clarity, let me just talk about resume and LinkedIn, even though this is the LinkedIn lecture, I guarantee you. But resume is about either catching or piquing that interest, really just the essence of our career and our value down to a single page. Just the nugget of gold, the drops of perfume, ruby, diamond, emerald, whatever it may be, just those items. So essentially they jump out of the chair. They have to know more. And then we get over to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, by definition, de facto social networking website for our work life. Really just like Facebook, except this one's for our career. Big difference there. Facebook, all sorts of things. But this one's, we don't add to our story. We don't share different items. We don't like other people's things. We don't join certain groups, all without thinking about the strategy beforehand. What's the effect if I let someone look over my shoulder to see what I'm reading, doing, sharing, attending, reacting to? Whether I'm working or not is irrelevant. Oh, you can be living and breathing your profession even if you're unemployed. A passion does not take payment. By the way, there's no payment here today. Guarantee you there's a lot of passion here. Live and breathe your field, absorb your field. LinkedIn's a few other things, and we have to think about this as well. Communications, research, marketing, advertising, platform. Business person will think of LinkedIn automatically this way. Oh, of course, wheels are turning. But you have a career brand to manage forevermore. We can't get away from that. I hope this is not a surprise to you. You're not going to have one more job. You're going to have one more job and one more job and one more job. That's the world we live in today. And the sooner you begin to manage your career brand, the easier each of those transitions gets. And that involves thinking of these aspects of the LinkedIn platform and how you might use them to push your career story. Make sure it's front and center. Make sure people are aware of you even without direct contact. course, you're looking at behind the scenes here on LinkedIn. It is a 3-level network. Great advantage, essentially. If I'm down here in the corner, happy guy connected to another happy person. Oh, you're my connection. I love that. But it's never really about my connections. Oh, I love my connections, but it's not really about those connections, because no matter what my connections do to their settings, every one of their connections are also in my searchable pool. They're not my connections, but they're in my pool. And no matter what those connections do to their settings, every one of their connections are also in John's searchable pool. It's a 3-level network that provides enormous chance to influence, also enormous chance to extract information in your job search that could help you. If you haven't seen me before, John Crant, author, career coach, and speaker, resume and LinkedIn guru as well. So if your career brand is not really getting the attention it deserves, if you're not getting the interviews that you should be getting, something's wrong with how you're presenting yourself. And very likely you're too emotionally close to your own story to see how to reset the story still in a very truthful but very different way. If you need help, I think you know where to find me. All my services are over under my services tab on my Self-Recruiter website. And if you need to chat before you know which one is the right package for you, just send me a quick email. We'll set up a time to talk through some of your challenges. A couple of resources that'll help you. Certainly my book, Self-Recruiter, Changing the Rules. That's really a roadmap for everything that you do in job search, from the plan itself to what do I do with the resume, LinkedIn like today, even the offer stage and negotiating. Of course, some motivation built in there as well. On my homepage for Self-Recruiter, you can have a special version of today's lecture where you can watch it again and see me large or see the slides large, and really use it as a wonderful start and stop tutorial while you build out a more effective LinkedIn profile. Of course, on my profile itself, you can click through and get to a few different articles that will certainly help you in your job search. Now, as much as I'm here to give you advice, don't let somebody else think for yourself. I get into Chinatown here in New York City very, very early in the morning sometimes, or at least pre-pandemic I used to. In my home studio at the moment. But, in the normal days, I live at Grand Street, FDR. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm heading into Chinatown. If you've not been to Chinatown at 8 o'clock in the morning, I highly recommend a visit. You're going to see a great number of things that you didn't expect. And like most people pre-pandemic, I'm like, I got a million things in my head. Lead, follow, get out of the way. I got to get to my destination. I look up and suddenly I see this guy walking down the street with an entire hog up on his shoulders. Don't know if you've seen one of those things in real life, but a lot of bacon on that thing, very large. My first thought was, how is he not toppling over? But he was a pretty stout guy. This was on his t-shirt. Don't let somebody else think for yourself. We have to put down that smart device. We have to put down whatever. We have to put away the distraction. We have to get out of the back seat, and we have to get behind the wheel, or you're not likely to get to the destination you're imagining. In terms of creating a wonderful, effective LinkedIn profile, you have to go back to your story. What is your story? Of course, be capable and qualified. Wouldn't consider anybody that was not capable and qualified. But hear this part. I wouldn't choose anybody because they're capable and qualified. That is not even in the decision process. I would never even consider you if I didn't consider you that. It comes down to the chemistry and confidence. How are you interesting? What makes you tick? What drives you? I need to get a sense of your energy. How will you fit with this team? Can you stay motivated? All of those things. So we're going to have to go back and kind of rediscover our story. By the way, if you have not done a deep dive interview, that's what I do with my clients when I'm reinventing their background, be it resume or LinkedIn. We start with about a 90-minute deep dive interview where everything is on the table. We're under the bed, we're in the closet, we're under the rock. We're looking every single place, either for something you have forgotten, dismissed, let slip away so long ago. Those are your career asset stories. And the problem is you're so emotionally close, you've assigned baggage to some of that great content. Oh, not that. Oh, that was so long ago. You need to detach emotionally, do a deep dive interview, maybe come up with 8 or 9 pages of notes, and then begin to reinvent yourself. Maybe highlighting just the nuggets of gold, ruby, diamond, emerald that's in your notes. Now you have some core items that have to become part of the story. You have to think about each new item that gets added can either add to your value or it can dilute your value. Now, our brand in the digital world, that's really what LinkedIn is all about. But even though we'll talk about LinkedIn today, I sure hope you take these concepts over to other digital platforms that you may use. Sometimes people go, well, what's the best platform to use? I'm glad you asked me. Actually, the best platform to use is LinkedIn. That is the professional place where you have to exist. If we do not exist in our profession on LinkedIn, we do not exist professionally. Oh, you may hold that job you have right now, but everyone picks up your resume and they go to LinkedIn. And it's like, they're not here. Is this even real that I'm looking at? Very quickly, you fall by the wayside. We cannot get left behind in today's world. Second platform, if you'd like to become employed, and I hope you didn't eat your breakfast or lunch too soon ago, but you need to be on Twitter. Almost lose it every time I mention that. I don't mean you have to live on Twitter and tweet or the 158 tweets over the weekend type thing. That's not really what I'm saying. Use it the way I use it. You know, I'm not 12, 13 years old. I have a very busy day, struggle to find sleep sometimes. You know, there's a lot of activity. So I can't live on Twitter. But what I do is I give my LinkedIn, my Twitter access and authorization. They never post unless I hit post. So far, I can trust them. But whatever I put out there to share on LinkedIn can seamlessly also go to Twitter. Why is this so important? Even if I never go to Twitter, why do I have to send this out to Twitter? Because a lot of companies have stopped posting jobs. They've stopped posting jobs because it's 1,000, 2,000 resumes being sent in every time. And 95% of these aren't right for the job. Why are they sending them to me? It's clogging my entire system. They found another way. They can go to Twitter. They can, give me any position, any level, any industry, a couple minutes to think about it. I can come up with 4, 5, or 6 words to find just the right person. I'm not the capable, the qualified. It's like cat hair in your mouth. Not those people. Whatever the role, the best to the best to the best. That's what we're looking for. How's that possible? Think like a detective. Promote yourself up to a little bit of a Sherlock Holmes. Well, if they were the best, the best do very specific things. If they were really the best at whatever they do, I bet you there's a certain conference that they always go to. That's the conference. I bet you there's certain books in the field that they have read and tagged and mentioned. I bet you they very likely shared a best practices technical white paper on the best way to do their job, or they're not the best at what they do. We're going to talk all about those things. So I can go to Twitter, search for a little bit of that footprint of activity, breadcrumb trail right back to LinkedIn, and I have the people without ever having to advertise the job. That's why you need to be on Twitter, even if it feels like something you shouldn't do. Let it flow out to Twitter as well. Instagram, other places, of course, possibly depending on what our background is. Social media matters these days because it is where everyone is. It's where everyone's brain is. It's where the decision makers are. But really, second from the bottom here is the most important one. Proper use of social media, which should not take very much time, but 2 minutes out of your entire workday if you plan ahead. That just takes a little planning and strategy, a little bit of homework in advance, 2 minutes a day. That 2 minutes a day investment in proper social media use helps you stay on the top of people's minds, seeming like you have contact with them, even though you really have no contact with them, but they're aware of you because they're looking over your shoulder, seeing what you're interacting with, seeing you living, breathing your profession very passionately. That's the way you're going to influence decision makers. Small changes change perception. Small changes change everything. Now, why we will get hired? I already told you this answer. It's chemistry and confidence. Number 1, number 2. Yes, that's assuming you're capable, you're qualified, you've done the right things in your background. By the way, you don't have to have held this job before. You're presenting yourself as qualified. This is the right next job for me. I'm qualified. Doesn't mean I've held it before. So get that part out of our way. Build chemistry, because job search is a dating process. Well, it's two things, really. It's a dating process plus a sales process, both of which are upset most people's stomachs pretty quickly. Okay. But if it's all of this and we can understand we can maybe do it without our emotion, operate it like a chess game, things work very, very differently. So if we keep focusing on these things, we then understand why the interesting and tick part matters so much. Now, every hiring decision is a buying decision. Buying decisions, we prefer to buy from someone that we get, prefer to hire someone that we get. So yes, be capable, qualified, but also who are you? What makes you tick? Would I get along with you? What if I got stuck in an airport for 4 hours with you? Our planes got canceled. We're stuck in the airport. Am I going to want to kill myself because I'm stuck in the airport with you? As a recruiter, I used to have hiring managers that would literally do that test. They're going to pass the airport test. Going to pass the airport test. I'm not hiring some crazy person I have to be with. We all have a little bit of crazy mixed in. It's about how you manage that. So I think this is so important. Here's a few of my shares that have nothing to do with what I do professionally. I share them on my Instagram. My Instagram, I feel, is so important to even the career coach part of what I do. It's a drop-down menu on my website. Look, why is this here? Because beyond being capable, qualified, expert, people want to know, who are you? What makes you tick? What drives you? So you see me hiking up the Hudson Valley or out in Yosemite climbing Half Dome, or here I'm almost dying, unfortunately. 2 years ago, end of August, out in the California desert at 108 degrees. Only ones on the trail because all the advice said not in July and August where your life is in your hands. But this was on my bucket list. Well, I nearly hit that bucket. It was on my bucket list, and this was the only day. And we took a wrong turn in the heat, the stress, the sunlight as we get up there. And that added 2 extra miles. And gosh, heart spinning out of control by the end of it. I had to stop every few feet to try to cool down. 2 miles of blazing sun once we got up to the plateau with the wrong turn, and could have been a very different outcome. But now you know a little bit about what makes me tick. Small changes change perception. We're not used to historically sharing this type of stuff, many of us. Some of us have grown up with it, the younger folks, but as we get more mature, well, we're probably not as used to sharing this. Again, you're going to have to think strategically. What do I share? What's the perception? How does it let me take control of the discussion of what people think about me? Now, here's a mistake people make. People are so, I want to be perfect. I want to be perfect. Resume, LinkedIn, everything else. I want to be cookie cutter perfect. Really? So number 3, I'll take number 3. I'll take number 3. By the way, I'm going to pay you less, number 3. Oh, you don't want less? No, I'll take number 2. And take number 5. Take number 8. It doesn't really matter. I'm paying less because I'm just taking someone interchangeable. You have to not only present yourself as capable, qualified, interchangeable, cookie cutter, but also somehow different, special, exceptional, stepping out of line. That's how you get the right offer. That's how you kick your competitors to the curb. And here's where we have to, in the modern world, we have to have some tough medicine. Most of us are not Kardashians. We suffer from something called modesty and humility. And first off, modesty and humility, wonderful, wonderful traits to nurture and grow for all the other aspects of our life, but not for job search, not for career. These 2 aspects of our life, it directly puts us behind. So you're going to have to give yourself permission to get past cultural barriers, sometimes embarrassment, whatever it might be. It's a paradigm shift in the way the world works today. And you're going to have to understand that. Really, it's our job to teach them how to select us as the very best individual. And that's what your LinkedIn profile can do. It doesn't have to be just a repeat of what's on the resume. It should be a much richer, deeper presentation, part of your personal branding. So back to the resume, just to put these 2 together. Resume is the catching or piquing of interest, the awareness, make them hopefully jump out of the chair. LinkedIn is where you close the deal. Here's the rest of the story you were dying to hear. And by the time they're done, wow, this is the best individual. That's LinkedIn's job, to close the deal. Another way, essence and value of your career on a single page. Three-dimensional sales brochure that drives them to the singular conclusion. If I hire, buy, or work with this person, best business decision I'll make today. Much easier. Let me just give you one little secret on the resume side. If you're holding a resume, contact line should be a single line with the two things you really want to motivate them to do on the outside. In the Western world, we're top to bottom, left to right as we absorb things. So your cell phone number needs to be at the far right. If you're holding my resume, I expect you to be sold already if it's the right resume. Easiest thing to get to is the cell phone on the far right. If you're almost there, oh, I need to know a little bit more. Second easiest thing to get on the outside is the far left, your LinkedIn profile, which, boom, delivers them right over to your sales brochure. Now, a lot of people today are concerned over the remote work. I think about 70% of the white-collar workers have gone remote over the last year and a half. I know at least some of us are really dying to get back to the office or dying to get in front of audiences, but we don't want to die doing it. Therefore, we have to be careful. I have a feeling we're going to have some remote work going on for some time to come. Real concern is I haven't done it. I've been out of work for the last year and a half during the pandemic. Well, kudos to you, because the pandemic will give you a little bit of cover for the break. The fact that you've never worked remotely, there may be other ways you need to talk about yourself. Maybe you've done some off-site interaction with vendors or managers or team members or clients or partners. It's not the same thing as working remotely, but you're working at a distance, which is very similar to working remotely. Or maybe you've been a speaker or presenter or have done conference calls or webinars or spoken at live conferences, whatever it may be. All of that is a way to convey, I'll be fine. Now, I'm going to confuse you with a lot that I might say on the LinkedIn side. So I want you to start with a clear idea of what I believe job search to be. I believe job search is not sitting on the internet looking at job postings. To me, that is close to pure tragedy. You are literally picking up half of your available resources. The only resource you have is your time. You're taking half of your time and throwing it directly out the window, because about half of all job postings are not real in the first place. They don't represent someone ready to hire right now. And that comes out of how those are sold. Those are advertising spots sold up to 1 year in advance. It's the only way you get a good deal. How many could I use this next year? I go to my sales rep and do a little horse trading, sign that contract, use them or lose them in 12 months. No idea 6 months or up to a year ago. Ends up with half the job postings not being real. Real job search to me is reversing the process, putting a list of organizations or companies that you're dying to work for. By the way, dying to work for cannot be because you see some open job. That's about you. Nobody cares about you. Well, I care about you, but nobody cares about you. It's got to be about them. So companies you're really dying to work for some reason that's not an open job, work backwards mentally. That's not that difficult. Well, what John says isn't possible. Oh, but if it was, well, how do I align the sun, the moon, the stars working backwards to devise the steps needed? Not very difficult. Discover the decision makers. Well, we'll teach you that right here with some screens today. We'll show you how to reverse search LinkedIn and find anybody you'd like. What was their title? Decision maker. Their job is to object to you. When someone objects to you, someone objects to me, you know what? I go inside. I'm like, you know why? Because they wouldn't waste oxygen. Step back emotionally. They were not going to waste oxygen on this conversation if they didn't think, oh, maybe I have to ask this. So because they challenge me or object to something in my background, they're dying to hear my thoughts. They're dying to hear how I put my wisdom together to overcome that objection, get the meeting, dazzle them, have them either create that job or get the job for you. So back over to LinkedIn, networking, and everything else. Well, traditional networking doesn't work so well, especially during the pandemic, unless we're all over the phone type thing. But we usually run down this list and go, oh, thank goodness I'm done. Does anybody here like networking? Now, when I ask an in-person live audience, even maybe 65 people sitting in front of me, 4 or 5 hands go up. I'm like, wow. I said, do you notice who else's hand is not up? My hand's not up. Do I like networking? No, not particularly. Am I good at it? Oh, I'm very good at it. That's different than liking it. So we usually go through these things. Traditional networking doesn't really work because we don't understand it. We think, oh, I have to go sell myself. I have to go sell myself. Little bit. Nobody wants to hear you sell yourself. You are there to be the most interested person in the room. Oh my gosh, how did you get into that? Oh, that's so interesting. Oh, have you met Jason over here? Okay, be that person that asks some innocuous questions and lures everybody up onto their soapbox where they spill the beans. They tell you everything going on in their companies, with their managers, with their challenges in the industry, and you absorb information that makes your job search, your life, your career easier to navigate. Well, networking, interacting with other folks, that's really what LinkedIn's about too. But I like the second part here, this creating this pool of contacts I can leverage to my benefit. Now, that's a little breaking of the unusual customer expected and moving it over to an unexpected place where we're going to get a very, very different thing. We'd all just like to get in the room and network, but it doesn't really work that way so effectively. That's a rut that we get stuck in. We show up with the business card, we've lost our enthusiasm, we're not listening to anybody else, and that leaves us back in a very unhappy place. Got to manage that part of it. By the way, if there's something to change or fix, absolutely. But then quit looking in the rearview mirror. We're simply going to change some of the rules, these rules we never agreed to, and that's going to change the equation for us. Bring us over to an unusual, unconventional, unexpected place where moments of clarity, the dots connecting can happen from all this creative, unconventional thinking that we're going through. Now, first real question as I begin to think about building a network across LinkedIn is whom should I connect with? It sounds like I should only connect with the best. Let's short circuit this answer and just give you the answer. Everyone is a good connection. So really, I don't care if you're in India, Russia, China. I don't care if you're in janitorial services. None of that matters because as a connection, it's never about you. Oh, near and dear to my heart, but never about you. It's about the 2 or 3 layers behind you that I own forever. If I could be connected to everyone, absolutely. You never know who someone's sibling is, or parent is, or child is, or next door neighbor is. Don't prejudge, just connect. So everywhere that you do go, make sure you're in business cards. We can network in a lot of different places, including even when we're in the park or in line for the movies or who knows what, once we feel like we can partake in those things again and get out there. So to sum up this first part, let's link with as many people as possible. That's going to dramatically expand your network. Now, before I showcase how to build out the 3-dimensional sales brochure for yourself, I want to take you through 2 techniques. These 2 techniques are just scratching the surface for what I did as a recruiter on a desk. So both of them are recruiter techniques. Recruiters use this on their own internal database. So I built this big database. Well, you have your own database now. It's called LinkedIn. So same techniques we can use on LinkedIn. This is a 1 forward, 1 back technique, or 1 back, 1 forward, depending on how we like to say that. The goal of this technique is to build a statistically perfect list of 30 companies that would hire you tomorrow if they had an opening. That's the only part you don't know. Do they have an opening? Do they have an opening? If you've ever worked with a good recruiter, and there's not very many, that's 2, 3, 4% of the whole industry. But if you worked with a good recruiter before, they may assess your whole background. They may go, oh my gosh, Jack, Jim, Jill, I'd love to work with you. You have a great background. And if they meant it, so sorry about all those years training recruiters, I'm a very effective trainer. But if they meant it and we're not using it as distraction technique to extract more information, then what they're going to do is once they hang up the phone or once you leave their office, they're going to build this statistically perfect list. They're going to go into their database and search for someone just like you. They just interviewed you. They know who you are. They know why you're a special asset. They're not going to find someone that's everything you are. They're going to find some aspect of you and find other people that have that. So search for some aspect of yourself. And what we're looking for is people that made one job move forward after the time that you search for your identical nature of some sort. I collect all those people together. I begin to look at their 1 backs and 1 forwards. Middle one was where we're identical, of course. And most of them I might know. Let's give you an example. Let's imagine you were a Coca-Cola quality manager. until you got your pink slip and suddenly you're out there looking for something new. If you do this one back, one forward, and you collect all your people that are identical to you together, first thing you'll experience is heartbreak. 7-Up, Pepsi Cola, RC Cola. John, I could have written that list myself. Yes. That part of the list you should have written right off the top of your head. And then if you look around, you're going to see all these food and beverage companies you've never heard of. There's like 1 million of them. Every single one of them statistically perfect to hire you. They hired your duplicate. Go introduce yourself to those companies. And if they have an opening, boom. Recruiter builds this list. They do not bother to look at those company websites. That takes time. They do not bother to look at the job boards. That takes time. They simply pick up the phone, call 30 managers at 30 companies, because everything happens in conversation. And quite magically, 2, 3, 4% of all those are 2, 3, 4 out of the 30, not percent, but 2, 3, 4 out of the 30 suddenly go, oh, I need a person just like this. Oh, you do? Tell me about your need. Tell me about your problem. Tell me what's going on. We don't tell them about the homework, the magic trick, the things that made it work. So this is one method. I will show you another method coming up to build this statistically perfect list that can be really good for you. Second technique I want you to see before I show you how to build the 3-dimensional sales brochure is this 1, 2, 3 forward technique. Now, this one is more complex. I have an actual sample to show you so that you can kind of grasp it a little bit more. This is about following another individual's career path, discovering some other career path that you're unaware of, and following that path with your background. So I had a gal call me up from Atlanta. She says, I think I need a career coach. I think I don't have a career. I'm like, oh, a little harsh. Send me your stuff. Let's take a look. And, she sent me her stuff. Let me get a little drink here. Oh, nice midday coffee. I love it. Sends me her stuff. And you know what? She's done a little of this, a little of that. Now she's managing a health club. Nothing wrong with managing a health club. Doesn't want to manage a health club. I don't know how to find one of these career things. I'm like, I can help you. I said, let's do a little brainstorming. You're just into the workforce. No. I've been working 3 years. I'm like, okay, well, welcome. There's really nothing here. Let's go back to what I see as your original asset, which was her education. So we went back and looked for people that were just like her. Not in every way, shape, or form, but in some way, shape, or form. And so we did a live search. She went to Clark Atlanta University. All these folks went to Clark Atlanta University. She studied mass media. All these folks, keyword, all studied mass media. And at the time we did the search, they were all 3, 4, 5 years out of school. So really we're looking around, doesn't matter where they're located, we're looking around for inspiration. What do you like? What titles? Oh, events. Oh, events. I like to work at events. Oh, events at Warner Brothers. Oh, that sounds pretty interesting to me. Oh, I'd love to be a membership director. Oh, recruiter. I'd like to help people. Come back to that one. Trish here. How'd she become this membership director at this nonprofit at the Chamber of Commerce? How'd she do it? What do you think her first role was? Membership associate. And her second role? Membership manager. And voila, 3 steps in, she's membership director in the same amount of time that they both had the same asset, the education. So here's my client here over on the right, Tahita. Didn't even know what she was looking for, but now she knew she's looking for a nonprofit foundation. A lot of those around Atlanta. That's fantastic. And my gosh, we have to update this story because after she found herself in member services at the Georgia Pharmacy Association, she then got promoted up to manager of member services and database, and finally up to director of membership operations, all the way to her career goal, 3 steps in a direction she'd never heard of or thought of before our call. Perception is reality. We are this product, and we're going to have to dress it up. You have to have an idea and understand that every little change that we make will change the perception of you, helping you not only be cookie cutter perfect, but at the same time somehow exceptional, different, special. Let's get over to LinkedIn. Here's a few shares. I just want to influence you a little bit on once you build out your profile. There is a part 2 to this lecture called Career Evolution. It's right over my YouTube site, or it'll be coming up as well. That's really once you've built your LinkedIn profile, how do you now begin to use it as a marketing tool, like some of these shares? So here I was doing an event for Morgan Stanley, so I shared that. Or I was running out to one of my lectures, so I shared that. Or I was doing, a couple of years ago, I was doing my online boot camp a live version. It's working on an automated version right now, but a live version. Of course, I was doing that and shared that. I was up at WHR Voice of Harlem Studios. Of course, I didn't make it into the shop. My book, my coffee did. You know, the interesting thing about that kind of talk, that's 2 hours of drive time, which who doesn't love that? Starting at 6 a.m. So you have to get up at like 3:30 to eat, be ready, transport yourself uptown, get parking, and slip into the studio and slide into the headset at 6 a.m. ready to go. This particular host prepares nothing. It's 100% off the cuff, which works really well for me and a lot of fun. Different articles you might post. These are things I posted over on the LinkedIn side. All of this affects perception. You have to think of every single piece you share. Here I am resharing the radio show host's share of different authors he had on that month. So I'm piggybacking, resharing my content. Can't always share the same photo. I'm headed out to another lecture. I'm like, oh, I have to have a different photo. And someone was in my front seat of the audience. They were a little bit off to one side. It got to a point of showing my ridiculously long email signature. I'm obviously a little embarrassed, laughing. I'm a little greasy after like 90 minutes into it. Suddenly 1,500 views. Now, I exert a lot of branding control, and full disclosure, my other half's a creative director. That does help me. I've absorbed a lot as well. But we also have to not be afraid of breaking our brand a little bit. Being a human being works. That's why this picture works, even though I hate this picture, because you may think it's a nice picture, but all I see is, where's my hair? Why is my nose so big? You know, these things that we don't like about ourselves that we all have. As we go to build out our three-dimensional sales brochure, it's all about the amount of preparation. Do your deep dive interview and understand what your assets are. Collect and find your story. Parse your story with a highlighter. What is worthy of rising to the level of getting onto my LinkedIn? And then figure out how you're going to use multiple platforms. You notice my Twitter and my LinkedIn work together with each other, but they don't look identical. They're a little bit different from one another. And yet all of this content I let flow seamlessly across both platforms. And over time, boy, that affects a lot of perception of what you're reading, doing, sharing, involved in. Oh, I know most of these include me because I'm a public speaker and what I do, but most of what you share is going to be about what you're reading about your field, or the players within your field, or the challenges within your field. That's what you're going to be, or some of the projects you're working on and delivering. Career Evolution Lecture, check that out. It will guide you through all of this. So the rest of the content on those 8 or 9 pages that didn't get the highlighter, because you have to be very stingy with the highlighter, the rest of them you have to filter through that one singular question. Of course, I think you probably know it by now. Why is it going to be the very best business decision if I choose to hire you? That will help you decide whether it is worthy of being on your LinkedIn. The closer you can get to these physical, demonstratable, deliverable items, tangibles, revenues, expenses, efficiency, inefficiency, somehow your story has to talk about affecting performance. Let's go over to LinkedIn. Now, I'm going to walk you through my profile, but I want you to disregard my content. You have to understand how to utilize the space to set your story. That's the real challenge you have to learn. Let's begin by understanding what you look like when you look at other people, because I think a big part of job search is to find those companies you want to go after those individuals, and then warm up your target audience by reverse searching the company the way that I'm still going to show you in a few more screens. Selecting 25 to 30 people that you somehow think surround the job. Oh, if I see the job is here, let's pick some people up the food chain, up, down, all the way down to admin level, left and right into surrounding department. Nice, healthy mix of 25 to 30 people. If I open their profiles, you show up as looking at them. 6 people have looked at you. Who's looked at me? Who's looked at me? Oh, these people looked at me. So the 2 on the bottom, by the way, I only use the free version. So this is what you see. They show you the last 5 people in the free version as a way to try to want you to pay more than you. I'll show you more. Of course, those 2 on the bottom, don't look here. There's really no point to privacy on LinkedIn. This is your professional shingle out for the world to see. You control every single word in your cultivated, curated garden of your story. Why would that be private? Doesn't make sense. Jonathan here. Well, first off, I can tell you, Jonathan does not work in the fashion industry or any glam industry. So I'm not sure about the glam shot. That's not the right choice. This is a product shot when you take your picture. Founder and owner. I hope no one here is a founder or owner, or if you are, I hope you're not looking for an actual job. We do not hire founders and owners. They don't listen to us. We can't tell them what to do. I can't control them. Let's get out of our own way. If you have a founder and owner in your background titling, change it to principal. It means exactly the same thing with none of the baggage. Oh, principal. That's the person that will take the responsibility. That's the person I can manage. That's the person I can control and direct. Let's get out of our own way sometimes. Deborah here. That's a great shot. I can imagine good chemistry. I can imagine working with her on tough weeks, whatever the challenges might be in that industry. Oh, I have some focus. Textiles, lighting, fashion, interiors. Fantastic. But I wonder what Deborah's doing within textiles, lighting, fashion, interiors. I mean, is she designing the textiles, setting the lighting? I'm not really sure. Or answering the phones. I don't know what she's doing. So we're missing, and I don't know the level of her contribution beyond what she's doing. So it's a missed opportunity. Of course, Brad here at the top, corporate affairs and communications, global reputation management, government relations, crisis comms. Look, I can contact that guy, and looks the part. We have to look the part. By the way, full disclosure, that's, of course, one of my clients. Right before this lecture, I happened to be out doing my cardio for the day, and you know, I'm in tights and 5-finger shoes. I'm out on the waterfront, and you know what? If I came in here looking like that, you would not listen to me. You would not take my advice. We have to look like the product that is expected. That's part of managing expectations. Now, profiles themselves, this three-dimensional sale brochure that we're trying to create, very similar to the world being right at our window. You know, if we were in retail, your job would be to get people into the store. Very tough these days, obviously. But if that's the job, it's all about what you put in the window. What would you put in the window to lure people inside? Well, your LinkedIn profile is the window. So why are you interesting? What makes you tick? Which could have something to do with what you do professionally, might have nothing to do with what you do professionally, and you're going to have to balance that story. Not about making your LinkedIn becoming a Facebook, but it is dressing it up with enough things that answer the interesting and tick question that they get that aspect of you as well. Let's go over to mine. First impressions are very, very important. We have to choose the right headshot and picture. We have to choose the right banner shot. Nope, you do not have to be in the banner shot. These are pretty easy for me to get as a public speaker. That's why I have it. But really, anything that could be about your field, or it could be about a challenge within your field, or it could be even sometimes your dirty desk close up done a certain way might convey energy, drive, work, goal. You know, let me comment in on a couple things you're seeing here in this. Below my name, that is the headline. I want you to think of that as a well, maybe it's a couple 100-character resume. How do you distill down the essence and value into one little snippet? Because if I read, share, do anything, small version of my picture goes with that. This headline goes with that. So what do I write in this headline? Really out to people that don't have any idea who I am. The people that know me. So the people that don't know me need to be introduced to me. What do I write? Author and career coach. Resume, LinkedIn, and career branding guru. Featured speaker at the New York Public Library, Department of Labor, CUNY, and many others. Quoted and seen in the Wall Street Journal, CNN, Forbes, Essence Magazine. Oh my gosh, I can contact this guy. Would you like to be contacted? Put your email address in the headline. One of the very few places LinkedIn does not promptly hide it from 99% of the people. I will not be controlled. Easy access. Put it right in the headline if you'd like a response. Think about how all this dynamic. Right down to part of the first impression is even how the about or summary section starts, drawing people into the story. Of course, we need to get to 500 plus as well. In terms of the banner image, just, use of a banner is very, very important. Just don't use the wrong banner. And if you need some help understanding what that is, it's a banner that adds focus to you, even if you're not literally in the picture. So it can't be a banner that distracts away from you. It has to work harmoniously together. Really, below your name, of course, marketing message all about yourself. As you work on your banner or any other part of your profile, understand that it is a trial and error. Try it. No, let me adjust it. Try it. No, let me adjust it. When I'm building out a client's LinkedIn profile, it may take 3-4 hours to build out the entire profile because it's a series of trial and errors to get it just right. Let's look down the page to the About or Summary section. Now, the way I use it, well, first off, it's about 2,000 characters of space. And the way I use it, it's 3 screens long. There's so much space. Of course, you notice right away there's no sentence structure here, except for quote, which has sentence structure. But there's no sentence structure here. And white space is incredibly important to telling story. Of course, my background, just to recap, 3 different desks as a recruiter. 2 of them I did as national market, meaning I never met anyone, could call any manager, any company, anywhere and place people. And then I did a local Manhattan market where I suddenly had to meet everybody. That's part of the background here. But all of this here, you quickly realize that I've got to distill the story down in a way that removes the reading, removes the work. Look at these as seen and featured, TV list as an example. Oh, I could have put that in much more succinctly, but then it would have taken an extra second, 2 or 3. There is no extra second, 2 or 3. This way you just see it, imprint, see it, imprint. They don't have to read it. They just see it, imprint. Very, very important. So much room left. I put in a number of places that I speak at, featured speaker at the New York Public Library, Department of Labor. And then you realize I just follow that with another list of 8 places that I speak, because I can't simply put a block in there. That becomes a block of text. Oh, there's a lot of text. I hope there's pictures. Well, there are pictures, but don't miss the great story. I have to break this up. Even this additional list of 8, notice that I had broke that up because I can't have the Miss NYC service or Rainbow Push Wall Street project or Goldman Sachs or Harvard Business School Club of New York City. I can't have them miss that. It has to be broken up so the brain can simply look and grab it, look and grab it, look and grab it. This is the actual work of taking away the work for the reader. Still so much room left. So I put in several titles of my lectures. Clever way to get more keywords in there. Then I roll the dice on a whole paragraph out of my book. So not my normal style. But you know what? I put it in quotes. I put my name after it, make it really friendly. I don't think I'll lose them by this point. Still more room, so I put my full services, my website, and then I begin to attach visual elements. Your summary section, jobs, many other places around your profile can take visual elements. Those are pictures, PowerPoint files, video streams off YouTube or Vimeo. There's a lot of ways to get content in here that can change the story about you, change the perception. Even if you don't have those things to share, this white box appears on your profile. This white box, now for most people, it's empty and says, here's what you've done over the last 90 days, nothing, and it's empty. This shows what's been going on the last 90 days. So, my gosh, this is where they look over your shoulder to see what you're reading, doing, sharing, attending, what you're involved in, what excites you, what drives you. At the bare minimum, go out and find some articles, books, events to talk about, react to. Watch my career evolution lecture, which will take you through a whole campaign that you can build and manage with just 2 minutes per day. Working or not working, you suddenly begin to live and breathe your profession. Now we get down to the typical resume part of my LinkedIn profile, but this doesn't look like a resume. Why would I have it look like a resume? Do those things work very well? Not for most people, they don't, especially not the style that most other people do it in. It doesn't work at all because it takes reading. Have to convert even your resume over to concept communication that can be absorbed just from a look. But here I take that all away. You realize what I began to do was to parse out information into blocks. How do I remove the sentence structure? How do I put the blocks of information that they could just absorb it? And even without sentence structure, you get the whole story. It's all right here through a grouping and simplification process. Once I get that part of it done, then I go back and I layer in just a tiny little bit of all capitalization. Not very much, they won't read very much at all. No all caps, still not likely to read very much at all. A little bit of all caps that furthers the absorption and the structure without being too much. Here's a little bit of a view of traditional two-line bullets. Of course, you can spend some time on LinkedIn profile itself and really borrow some of the structure, change the content to yours. It'll give you a good idea of what you might want to do. Now, if you need a keyword block, and very few people need a keyword block, but if you need one, there is no special spot. I put it in my first job, my current job, the self-recruiter job. I just carriage return down a few lines, skip a few spaces, put keyword colon, run it all together. I don't know if you've been reading that while I've been standing here. But if you have, you've probably seen Stephen Covey, Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins, never quite know how they're going to search him, Tori Johnson, 5 O'Clock Hub, 92nd Street Y. All these things I have absolutely nothing to do with. Why are they here? John thinks like a detective. Those are all things that you could search to find someone like John, but you won't find John. I can't, those aren't part of my organic story. I can't get that into my background, but I can pop it into a keyword block. ... Did you connect those dots? Because my gosh, if I needed to come up around certain companies all the time or certain people in the industry all the time, you realize how I could do it very, very easily. Make sure you're rubbing elbows with the right people and understand everything that you build out is a trial and error. Try it, save it, go refresh the page. How does it look? Maybe even try it on a couple of different browsers or platforms. Get it to its best shape possible that is absorbable. Each individual jobs, they can take visual elements as well. And of course, I can come up with a lot of things as a public speaker, but you likely can too. Most of the clients I work with, they'll send me a folder of, sometimes it's a handful of pictures, sometimes it's 50 pictures. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no. How can I tell you what I could create unless I can see what you have? I wouldn't put 50 pictures. You know what we did? We cherry picked 4 or 5 of them, 4 or 5 of just the right pictures that illustrated a certain quality. And once you understand the backstory of what's going on in the pictures, you can just overlay a little bit of type to raise the level of professionalism in what you're sharing. And you have a wonderful piece that will fit right on your profile, begin to influence people, let people see you in action sometimes. A couple of techniques I want to showcase to you. We can go a little bit further back in my background. Here I'm VP over the 100 Office Recruiting System. I'm talking about a national ad firm or a national recruiting firm. We did manufacturing, recruiting, engineering, a supply chain, logistics, chemical, energy, on and on and on. Really just a clever way to get more keywords in here. But think of the storytelling technique. You worked in these industries. If you needed help reinventing your career brand across the resume and LinkedIn, guess who would come right up based on how I told the story? Think about if there's a way for you to tell your story that takes advantage to some of that connection. This is much, much earlier here where I was just down at the recruiter level. I included associated clients. This is the same technique, by the way. That could get you in trouble, so let's be careful. Let's make sure we understand non-disclosures that we may have signed and trade secret agreements. I had the right to share every one of these clients I worked with. I shared everyone that I worked with. Now imagine if you worked at any one of these software companies that you really need help with your resume and LinkedIn. How do you find the right person? Guess who would come right up based on how I told the story? Think about how you utilize your LinkedIn platform to tell a story. Now, just below that, you probably just saw that little move there. If you would like endless new connections forever, this is how you do it. You don't even have to write this down. You can copy it right out of my profile. Invite me, all invites accepted, Open Networker, and Lion. This is how you get to 501 connections. By the way, you have to get to 501 connections or you will never be labeled 500 plus, mover, shaker, finger on the pulse. Or you're stuck at 170, 240. You think that's wonderful, but all your competitors are 500 plus, 500 plus. Mover, shaker, finger on the pulse. Well, maybe second round for that person. We have to manage expectations. Kind of shocking how many people that I find that are very senior in their career path that are stuck at 170 connections because they just don't get it. talk to you a little bit more about expanding those connections as it's coming up. Now, publications module, I have my book in there. I have a few articles that I was featured in Strategic Finance Magazine. Those folks love me for some reason. I have no finance background, but I've worked with a lot of finance clients. Featured in Essence Magazine. I thought I was getting punked when I got that call. It's like, you're in Essence Magazine. I'm like, who is this? Wait a minute. I have to go look. This was back in 2012. It was already very hard to find a magazine store back then, but Barack was on the cover. It made it very hard to find it. You may not have the book or the articles or those things, but you know what? Could you just write 3 or 4 or 5 page and a half articles about some aspect of what you do professionally? You know, kind of from the wise mentoring. Because you talk to my kid that kind of like to come down the same track as you, because you give them some pearls of wisdom. Yeah, wise mentoring tone, each page and a half, because no one wants to read. Somehow what you do surrounding the job, that's controlling every word of the interview in advance. If you can lure them into reading your thoughts about why you do your job the way you do it. Stick it on a free blog, use the publication module. It helps to sell you. Now, when I'm right in front of the audience in a live room, I'll go, oh, anybody volunteer? Anybody volunteer? Because I know someone will go, oh, I volunteer. And I go, oh, I realized it was volunteer work. I lost my interest. I don't know why we have so much baggage. You know, we have this thing that we somehow think volunteer work is not real. I hope this seems real to you today. I am volunteering here today, as I do always for the New York Public Library, or almost always. So, you know, we have to get away from that. Why don't we, that's so much baggage. Why don't we simply not use the volunteer module and use the organizations module? Has that all the same benefit, but none of the bag. Oh, this is how you align yourself. This is how you give back. Paid or unpaid can go in the organizations module. Don't get distracted by all these dates. I put dates in there as public speaker, time relevance of my speaking. This field does not require the dates. So let's think about whatever we put in there. Even in this area, I use that same technique one more time, mentioning NYU Wasserman Center. They had called me up. They said, hey, we're doing a career roundtable discussion. We're going to have a moderator. We're going to have Jessica and John Ladinsky and Vincent, the moderator. Are you open to it? I'm like, oh, I'm always open. Let's give it a try. And I'm getting ready for the event and checking out who I'm going to be talking with and interacting with. And I see John Ladinsky, and I'm suddenly so jealous. I'm like, oh, he has so many followers, so many followers. He has more followers than me. I'm like, well, come on, John. He's got a 30-year career. Let it go. Let it go. I'm actually really shy and introverted, but I'm very competitive. I still want to win. So I'm thinking, but I'm thinking something different than you are. I'm not thinking, how do I get more connections than John Ladinsky? I'm thinking, wait a minute, I already have my connections. How do I get John Ladinsky's connections? This is where we have to understand sharing accolades, sharing praise, sharing spotlight, kudos with other people done properly reflects that light back on us as well. So by including all of these folks in here, you better believe every time somebody searches Wasserman Center or Jessica or John or Vincent, guess who comes right up because of how I told the story. Don't be afraid to share the credit. It'll do good things for you. Keyword skills endorsement module. This is 50 words or phrases all about you. I know how difficult that is. First off, let's remember, no one's an expert at 50 items. The criteria is not I'm an expert at these things. You know, let's put these things in here that's going to help you. All of the material that you put up in your profile in the different sections, as you see here, will then consolidate in a more concise way toward the bottom. Everything is expandable. That way, whoever's visiting does not become overwhelmed, but the moment they have interest, they can expand deep, rich content. I want to see more. Where is it? How do I get to it? Until really they've forgotten to look at the other candidates and they're absorbing your background. As I said, everything here becomes expandable. Everything is part of the keyword search ability. So this is where you need to put that extra content, but you have to put it in still a very interesting way. Now, written recommendations, gosh, wouldn't we love, in a perfect world, 4, 5, or 6 of these at least would be quite nice. 52, 53, 54 written recommendations up on LinkedIn. The one thing you have to realize, which you'll realize right away if you start to read some of them, is not a single edit, because your head's going to want to explode. Typos all over the place, grammar all over the place. Oh my gosh, didn't John see this? Of course I did. That's why they work. Oh, I learned that long ago as a recruiter. Well, half the companies I ever worked with as a recruiter would never check a reference under any circumstance whatsoever. I kind of found that astounding, but that would be it. The other half would. And I'd likely get the call going, oh, John, we'd like to consider making an offer to so-and-so. Can you send over the references? And I go, absolutely, I'll get them right over to you. Hang up the phone. Here's where I would employ selective hearing. No hanky-panky, no monkey business, but I'd employ selective hearing. I would choose to hear, could you send over the completed references and maybe we can get this out this afternoon? Oh, I love the sound of that. Yeah, absolutely. But had I asked permission, they would have told me, no, just send them over. We'll make the calls. It's like asking your parents for permission. You don't ask your parents for permission. You ask your parents for forgiveness after the fact. So I would hang up the phone. I would spend the next 2 hours pulling those references. I'll pull them out of the meeting on their cell phone. Life and death for my client. Deliver them back, and I'd capture verbatim what came out of their mouth. Don't know if you've ever transcribed one of those discussions. Oh, it's frightening. All over the map, half sentence here, over here, tangential, never comes back. Whole thing in quotes. Here's the name, here's the title, here's the phone number, here's the email. First time my boss saw it, absolutely horrified. It's like, oh, I hope you're going to clean that up. I'm like, no, I'm not cleaning it up. That's part of the strategy. Take an actual minute and read it. Hair on the back of your neck stands up. It's so real. Same as will be with here. Roll the dice and people will say something you don't expect in a very positive, unexceptional way. Just don't tell them what to think about or write about. Jack, could you write about these 3 things? 1, 2, 3. Okay, your friend's going to write about these 3 things, something dull and uninspired. Never say the 5 dazzling things they would have said because you stuck a flashlight in their eye. Join some groups. There's a self-recruiter group. I think that's a pretty good group. Really, it seems now that the groups are somewhat unlimited. It used to stop at 50, but you can join many more. Just understand every single group that you join becomes part of your searchable pool. When I share something on LinkedIn just out to the Ethernet, it could land on any one of those people's desktops potentially because we're all connected through the group. Follow some influencers. Look at that. I'm following Tony Robbins, mostly so I can give him a little push off stage, hopefully. How do we get to 500 connections? Be seen as that person that has the finger on the pulse, the mover, the shaker. Well, it's actually pretty easy. We're going to go right up to this unified search box. Inside the unified search box at the top of any page, I'm going to simply type in quotes, invite me. See all these people that have invite me somewhere in the profile. No thought, no processing, nothing. I just run down everyone, connect with every single person I can, go back and do it again. This time, all invites accepted inside of quotations. Invite every single person, every single tab until I run out of people that it will let me invite. Then go back and do it again. Open networker inside of quotes. Invite all those people. Last one doesn't really need quotes. It's lion, like a lion, single word, stands for LinkedIn Open Networker. You're going to get a few that don't belong. I'm on the Lion team of the real estate company. I work at Food Line. Okay, a few that don't belong, but most are high-powered networkers. Let's take our first step. Figure out how we're going to move things ahead and repeat. Let's, as we begin to go toward the end of today, let's teach you how you get to any person by reverse searching LinkedIn. In job search, I sure hope that's not only the boss, but the boss's boss and probably boss's boss's boss. That's called top-down selling. Starting further up the food chain may be frightening to you, but those people aren't afraid of you. They think of you as a potential wonderful strategic asset. And when you get introduced down the food chain from the top, you always get that interview. But we can find peer subordinates, really anybody that you need to find. How do we do this? We go to that same unified search box. In this example, I'm searching Informatica, big database middleware company I used to do a lot of work with as a recruiter. Trap here is you're going to get this drop-down menu. Don't click on the drop-down menu. Just hit enter and you get this nice secondary sorting process. I am looking for the people that work there, but I'm also brainstorming. I bet you there must be other companies I'm forgetting. So let's look at the companies. Oh, there it is right there. Let's look at the companies. 34,000 companies. Wow. What's going on here? Well, after you get past the Informatica, I can tell you this was one of my fields. All these people down on this list, they're system integrators. They either resell or install Informatica software. If I am statistically right, to work for Informatica. Oh, I'm very likely, statistically right, to work for a great number of these companies. This is an alternate method. I could stick in every employer one at a time I've ever had and begin to understand who else might like to hire my skill set, even if I'm scratching my head over going, why are they there? I don't know, but why don't you go introduce yourself? I think some good things will come. But then you have to get to people. So we go back over, no, show me the people. 2.5 million. Oh, I'll be cold and in the ground before I get through that list. That's not going to work. I'm going to have to brainstorm, even on the free version. Let's see. I don't need everybody. I need the ones that are really in the US and really are currently working for Informatica. I don't need like the 3 years ago I worked for Informatica. So what do I get then? 1,615 results. So I love that. But I can't look at 1,615 either. Let me think here. VP. I think a VP is going to hire me. Oh, look at that. Just simple VP. Still in the free version. Really US. Really working for Informatica right now. 75 VPs. A lot of chiefs. We're brainstorming. We're problem solving. You know what? I think maybe it's a director. A director is really going to hire me. Really US. Really Informatica. 228 directors. How did I not see it before? It's brainstorming. It's a sales director. That's running a sales director. And as long as I'm doing it, how about right down to New York City, even on the free version? What do I get? Oh, 3. That sounds really great. What I'm looking for are 3 to 5 individuals to introduce myself to. That gives me 3, and I might give up now. But if I got 5, my odds go up. So you know what? Maybe there's a sales VP, not just a VP, or maybe a sales VP, or not just a sales director, really right in the New York City area. What do I get? Oh, 2 more. Now I'm up to 5. Fantastic. Now, each of these folks, as you go to connect with them, sometimes you're going to get frustrated. Oh, this send in mail. I hope you understand what it is before you click send in mail. In-mail is spam. Spam, if we didn't hear it, it's the literal definition of spam. It is paid email. Please do not send it. My inbox is overflowing with well over 1,000 unopened messages of nonsense, all endless spam. Yep, a few good messages mixed in there. So don't send those things. I still do want to connect with Nick. How do I do that? Well, load his profile. They're going to frustrate you again, but just behind the little dot, they just hit away the connect. And we'll put it over here behind the bush. They'll never find it over here. They can't stop you. This is their business model, connecting. And here's a message you write one time ever. Copy and paste forevermore. Communicate you don't know me. I'm professionally appropriate. Here's a little stroke to your ego. I like to connect with other professionals in our niche or niche, depending how we like to say that. And comment, and of course, I'd love to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. Wherever you are in your process, use the start and stop tutorial version that's right on my website. Work to improve your LinkedIn profile. Understand it's probably several rounds to get it to the right level and to layer in a few of the proper visuals. And I hope that you can join me this Friday. This Friday, I have a very special edition of, this is Friday, October 1st, of the Ask Self-Recruiter video live advice blog. This is a live Q&A. If you would like your questions included, and you got some good questions, anything on job search, just send them to ask@selfrecruiter.com. Ask@selfrecruiter.com. Best ones will all be featured live. Hope you can tune in. If you can't make it right at 11 a.m., of course, it does record it and keep both on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And please do like, comment, and share those with your friends. Same thing with this video here. Thank you guys for joining in today, and we will see you guys very, very soon.